Hi everyone, Sean Waldman with Secure Cyber Defense, and this is your bi-weekly video cyber update. Starting in the vulnerability section today, we have Cisco small business routers. So if you're currently utilizing the Cisco RV132W or the RV134W, there are some high vulnerabilities out for those devices. So if you're using those, hop on out to the secure Cisco website and download the appropriate updates. Second is the Trickbot Advisory. So this week, CISA and the FBI both put out a joint advisory indicating that they're seeing a huge uptick in Trickbot malware. Trickbot is originally it was designed for the banking industry to steal financial data. It has been morphed into a multi-stage, kind of a Swiss Army knife of malware that is dropped by a threat actor in order to do more damage to your network. In plain English, they're seeing an uptick in emails, malicious emails that are coming through, phishing emails, and sometimes they're links taking you to sites where you can download Trickbot onto your computer and get it in your network. It could be a PDF document that's coming, indicating that you've got a package delivery and they want you, or an invoice. Usually it's commonly an invoice or some type of manifest, right? And they're trying to get you to click on it to open it, and then that'll deliver the Trickbot malware. Sometimes the Trickbot malware will sit for a while and it'll download more malware. So it'll sit on your network and then it'll go out in another stage and communicate with another server and bring down another piece of malware. Basically, the Trickbot malware gets on your network and then other tools get downloaded. So kind of think of it as, think of Trickbot as like an empty toolbox that gets put on your network, and then over time, like here comes a hammer and a screwdriver and like more tools, right, start coming and filling that bucket. Effectively, that's what we're talking about. So this joint advisory, by the way, so it's if you're looking at the CISA website, it's AA21076A, and this is a very lengthy. It's labeled TLP white, which means that you can distribute it however you want. There are 20 recommendations, mitigation recommendations at the back. And I'm going to read some of these because cybersecurity is hard. Okay, I'm seeing more organizations that are having some issues, right? And cybersecurity is definitely not an area where you want to be careful about cutting resources in cyber. I'm going to explain some other stuff in the news section that's relevant to this. But let's just look at some of the mitigations that the FBI and CISA are recommending for Trickbot. Things like provide social engineering and phishing training for your employees. Consider updating or drafting policy addressing how you would react to suspicious emails. Mark external emails with a banner denoting the emails from an external source. These are going to get harder. Implement group policy objects and firewall rules. Implement antivirus programs and formalize patch management processes. Adhere to principles of least privilege. Enable multi-factor. Implement an intrusion detection system. Monitor web traffic. Maintain situational awareness of the latest threats, meaning like stay in the news. Disable SMB v1 traffic. Visit the MITRE attack technique pages. These types of recommendations are just going to come more and more often, and they're very complicated. There's a bunch of snort rules on here, and some of you go, "What the heck is a snort rule?" So snort is an open source intrusion detection system, and they've got a number of indicators on here, fingerprints basically, to detect Trickbot. Anyway, it's difficult, right? So you're going to want to partner with somebody that's able to interpret and understand this intelligence as it comes out and make those changes on your behalf. So I don't say that as a sales technique. I just say that as this is reality, that this is just going to keep getting more difficult and it's going to get harder to protect. And I just want you to think about that as you go forward. So we talked about Trickbot. Adobe Cold Fusion came out with an out-of-band, meaning that Usually when we see out of bands, it means that somebody's taking advantage of it. So if you are currently using Cold Fusion or Connect or any of the Adobe suite, make sure that you're going out and getting the latest updates from Adobe to make sure that you're protected from that. By the way, when Trickbot downloads onto your network, it's looking for this. It's looking for you not patching Adobe Cold Fusion. It's looking for that outdated piece of software that you've not been keeping up on patches with, and it'll utilize that oftentimes in order to get leverage on your network. So that's why you need the patch. There was a couple other vulnerabilities that came out. Cisco Jabber desktop and mobile client software vulnerabilities. So if you're currently utilizing the Cisco Jabber desktop or mobile suite, that's a critical vulnerability. Notice the big red circle there. Make sure you hop out to the Cisco website and get that taken care of. And there was one other one. I thought this was over, but this just keeps on going. The Microsoft Exchange server vulnerabilities. Yet another malware analysis report from CISA. This just came out today. It was this morning at 8:45. So they're updating more of these indicators. We've still got compromised Exchange servers out there. If you're utilizing on-prem Microsoft Exchange, either in a full or hybrid version, make sure that you're hopping out to this CISA site and you're grabbing all the tools that you need to scan your Exchange server. And just be aware that if you've been touched by these threat actors, there's a possibility that they could be on your network. And I mean, as far as we know, the only way that you're going to detect that is with a properly configured firewall that somebody's monitoring and EDR software at your endpoint. I think we've beat that like a dead horse. Beat that like a dead horse? Is that how that goes? Okay, so in the cyber news, there was a great article out there, the rapid increase in security tools now averaging 14 or more in an organization. Imagine having 14 cybersecurity tools inside your company. It's creating alert fatigue and IT team burnout. Too many alerts and too many systems, meaning teams are hopping between each system to try and track down threats. This just lends to the conversation even more about how none of these tools anymore sit and are on autopilot. If you've got cybersecurity tools in your organization, somebody needs to be on and managing these tools on a regular basis, looking at logs, making sure the tool is working, making sure that if it's an endpoint type situation, making sure that you've got all of your endpoints covered. Have those new 5 laptops or servers or desktops that you've deployed, do they have all the latest tools on them? So just and partnering with somebody, 14 tools or more, it doesn't take that. Unless you're some mega large, conglomerate enterprise, Fortune 100 company, you might need 14 or more tools, but you've got a whole security team managing that. So if you've got 14 or more tools and you're a smaller organization, something's wrong. Give us a call. Another article, battling business email compromise is becoming difficult with standard cloud-based security and antivirus. Businesses need to close the security gap on email to better protect themselves. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're seeing organizations that are like hopping out to Office 365 and they're only relying on Microsoft to police their emails, to basically scan their emails. And everything that we've seen, Office 365 email scanning is best effort. And it doesn't do a very good job. I'm sorry, Microsoft, it doesn't. And what we recommend is that you, and really what any reputable company would recommend, is that you get a second email scanning software or service. In our case, we use FortiMail. There are some others out there. But I think the most important thing, going back on the article that I just read about the security tools, is making sure that whatever solution that you do choose, that somebody is monitoring that solution. So the reason that we push FortiMail so hard is because it's enterprise grade, it's cybersecurity focused, it's managed by us, and it's constantly tuned and monitored both by Fortinet and by Secure Cyber SOC. So just if HP, 88% of malware detected was delivered via email. We just reported on a Trickbot Advisory. All of that, almost all of that, is coming via email, via phishing campaigns. So yes, definitely training. Got to train users. If you don't have a training program and you're not teaching your users what to look out for, and you're not, doing least privilege, or you don't have anything on the desktop, like from an EDR standpoint, next generation antivirus, the times are changing. These tools are evolving. The threats are escalating, and it's just a continuous process of escalation. So here's some interesting news. In a mind-boggling ransomware attack, Acer has got a ransomware request for $50 million. Threatening to release sensitive financial records and double the ransom if it's not paid. It's part of a new trend of stay and play, where they're in there for months looking around and seeing who your customers are. And you know why they're doing that? They're doing that because they want to learn who you are and how big you are. A lot of these hackers don't really understand who they've attacked until they start getting into your network and looking at your records. So obviously this attacker got in and went, hey, we've got Acer. They're a very large company. They've looked up their revenue. They see it's a publicly traded company. So there's public records that they can get from the SEC showing how much they've earned and how much money they make. Just something to be aware of, that when I talk about this stuff publicly, this stuff doesn't happen like in an hour. So generally, these hackers are getting into your environment and they're sitting in there for days, months, weeks, long time. So just something to be aware of. All right, now let's switch to the term of the week. The term of the week this week is supply chain attack. So a supply chain attack, also called a value chain or third-party attack, occurs when someone infiltrates your system through an outside partner or provider with access to your systems or data. So what is an example of a supply chain attack? SolarWinds. So what is SolarWinds? SolarWinds is a software company that makes network monitoring software for tens of thousands of organizations all over the world. Well, if I'm a hacker and I know that you have a strong, robust firewall with a big security team, and I know that there's going to be lots of tools and things to set off alarms, what's an interesting way for me to get inside your network without you detecting it? Well, kind of think of it as, let's say you buy a new couch, and a good way for me to sneak into your house, I could break in, break in. I guess that's the easiest thing. Anyway, the analogy is you have your couch delivered. Well, I'm going to undo the lining at the bottom of the couch, and I'm going to hide up in there, and then they're going to sew it back up again. Well, when the couch is delivered, I'm inside your house, and I'm sitting in your living room, but you don't know it because I'm hidden inside the couch. This is how they did it with the software. So this SolarWinds manufactures this software, they developed it, and then when they went to do an update, the hacker got into the update and dropped some malicious code in there. And then what happened was SolarWinds posted that there was a software update available, and then everybody went and downloaded the software and brought the hacker inside their network. That's a supply chain attack. We're seeing more of those, and it's just something to be cautious about. Understand who your third-party vendors are. Know if you're using cloud-based software, understand those risks and know how those updates are done. Make sure that you have a good relationship with that company to understand how they do their updates and how they distribute them. So this is just an example of checking third-party vendors and just being aware of the systems that you use. And then we're going to end on Sean's soapbox. So cloud application and storage, cloud storage security. You have to own your own security in the cloud. The cloud does not do security for you. I was talking with a vendor today about S3 buckets up in Amazon, and how many times that we keep seeing S3 buckets that have no passwords and they're completely unencrypted. How many times do we see someone move to the cloud and say, well, I've put my servers up in AWS or I've put them up in Azure, and I don't have a firewall. You can't go to the cloud without a firewall. They will not provide the firewall to you. Azure does have a firewall they provide, but it's not a UTM firewall. It's not a firewall that can be monitored by a third party. So you have to take the cloud responsibility seriously and know that when you go to the cloud that there are things that you have to do. You cannot just go to Office 365. You have to go to Office 365 in a secure manner. You can't just place all of your servers up in Azure or AWS. you still have to have security in mind. These cloud providers are not providing security for you. And if you've moved to these platforms and you've just assumed that everything's been taken care of for you, you likely should go back and check that. That's all we have for this week. I appreciate your time. Thanks. Have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.